Good afternoon, dear IRQB friends. I hope you had all a very good holiday period, a good rest, but now it's time to come back to our webinars and to speak about quality topics. As you could have seen, we have still our Mentimeter tool where we will go through different questions and ask you to participate interactively. There will be some additional ones later on, but you can also already see that a lot of people already knows the performance system of IRIS, and I get they are quite eager to know what is the progress after 1 year. So you know then as well that there is the possibility through this Mentimeter tool to raise questions, and I will be delighted to ask this question to our speakers at the end of the presentations. Thank you very much. Next slide, please. Next slide. So, welcome to this edition of this new edition. Today, we will make a status on the gold performance level, and this after 1 year implementation. It was exactly 1st September 2021, where we launched and activated this possibility to the companies, and now it's time to see where we are in terms of progress, but also in terms of sharing the different experiences. You know that gold is only one level. We created in 2017 with the implementation of the revision 3 of the IRIS scheme based on the ISO TS 22163 and the rules of the conformity assessment published in 2017, 3 quality performance level. This came in addition to the already existing enabler assessment in order to be able to have a better view on how the quality is implemented and also applied in the companies. So bronze, silver, gold levels were created. So as you can see, we were not so absolutely inventing the wheel, and they were progressively implemented. So let's discuss today several experiences after 1 year in this gold level, and I will also present you now the stakeholders which have the floor today to explain you and to give you a little bit their feedback. Next slide, please. So I'm really happy to welcome today 3 speakers. Reinhard Otto, he is Technical Standard Director at the Swiss Federal Railway, SBB, and he is as well member of the board of the International Rail Quality Board. Then Luise Nietzsche, Quality Manager as Siemens Mobility in Germany, member of a lot of IRQ working groups, will also give you then the point of view of the industry. Finally, Markus Kleinheit, Vice President Quality and HSE at Knorr-Bremse Systems, member of the IRIS-TICO and IRQB, will have the pleasure to tell you from the view of a gold awarded company what it means to work for gold, but also what it means to keep gold. Maybe I'm really interested to see what will be his advices. So, but before giving the floor to our speakers, I will give you just an introduction, as a preamble, to clearly show a little bit what we are speaking about. Next slide, please. Next slide. Thank you. So, as said, in 2017, within the IRIS boards, we have, I would say, decided to close the loop. Since 2006, with the launch of IRIS, we started to clearly assess the different requirements of a standard. And I would say even going one step further by ensuring that the implementation of the procedures, processes is effectively done, meaning that the different maturity levels we have in the evaluation is giving how deep this is implemented, applied, and gives an insurance to the customers. But in 2017, we said, okay, implementing is good, but maybe we should also see if at the end the results are there, because implementing but not reaching the results, at the end, the customers or the company itself will not be happy with this. Therefore, in addition to the enabler assessment, we have add two elements. The first is a process performance, dedicated on 5 clearly defined processes, where the auditors now have to evaluate how deep and how really these processes are implemented and bringing results regarding the expectation of the different stakeholders, which are the customer, but also the company, regarding defined targets and so on. First level. Second level, then, the customer perception, meaning how can we ensure as a company that customers are satisfied about the different steps, and how we can be sure that this satisfaction is visible at different levels, as stakeholder analysis, as customer perception directly with feedbacks, but also in terms of KPIs such as on-time delivery and so on. But I guess that Louisa will come back on that later on in the discussion about the implementation. So these were the 3 elements we wanted to implement. So we were absolutely sure that this will bring a big challenge for all the stakeholders. Are they the companies? Because it's, I must say, quite new, especially in the railway sector. There are other sectors where performance is currently assessed, mainly aerospace, where it's really broadly common, also in the automotive sector. But for the railway, it was quite new. But the auditors as well, it was absolutely different to assess a procedure, a process, than a KPI, a result towards a strategy, towards a target, and so on. And of course, the customers with the expectation to see improvements and to see with figures that maybe the quality is progressing. So therefore, it's really now interesting to see, after several years of implementation of the system, but especially of the gold system, which is the highest level, where we are. I guess that it's a success in the implementation. You will see also in the different intervention of our speakers that, of course, there is some satisfaction about this. Next slide, please. As said, bronze, silver, and gold. We had a progressive implementation. In 2017, when we launched the Revision 3, we immediately opened the way for bronze, which was directly coupled with the certification. In 2020, September 2020, even in this very difficult period in the middle of the pandemic, we decided to launch nevertheless the silver level. And today we are we have quite a good success at that level, with really numerous certificates in the silver part. And finally, 1 year after, we launched the gold level. This means exactly 1 year ago. And that's now what we will analyze. Next slide, please. So in terms of level issued, only 2 gold levels were issued. Okay, that's not a lot in 2 years. Whereas in comparison, in the first year of opening the silver level, we had around 100 silver levels. So only 2%. Anyhow, in the expectations, in the calculations, in the evaluation we have done in 2017, we have evaluated to a maximum to 4 to 5% of certificates which can be awarded with gold. So it's effectively not really, it's not a lot were not expected, but effectively 2 is maybe not enough. And maybe the speakers will tell us later on what are the different reasons which can explain this. By the way, 5 audits were calibrated. When I mean calibrated, means that there were 5 candidates who tried to reach the gold level, because the board decided to help these companies during the gold audit. This means this calibration audit, there is a specialist of the International Rail Management Center or of a company attending generally remotely the audit, and is able to help an auditor, a company, to better understand the different challenges of gold. And this means that only those who are really willing to go for gold are calibrated. 4 other audits are planned in the next weeks. So of course, as well, there was a kind of waiting period, I would say, where companies did not really know, will I go, will I not go, and so on. And this, I think, is one of the explanations. Finally, as well, it's important that communication, what we are doing today, but also other type of communications through the IRQB, through the IRIS portal, by the mean of guidelines, by the mean of other elements, and of course also the sharing the knowledge of the different experiences, and that's what one of the goals today will help also to and I would say to ease a little bit better this step to go to a gold certification audit. So that was as a preamble, and I would now hand over the floor to Reinhard Otto, who will give you his view as an operator, as member of the IRQB board, so was participating to the discussion when we created it, and today following it very closely also by the mean of the gold committee. So Reinhard, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Bernard. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Reinhard Otto. I'm the Technical Standards Director at the Passenger Division of Swiss Railways. As a member of the International Quality Board, as Bernard said, it's my pleasure to give you the perspective of a railway operator today. I will center around the question, why should you, or should you maybe not, achieve the gold level? And this talk will focus more on the background of the motivation, why we have created this schedule and why we want to motivate our partners in the industry to go for this certification scheme and to go for the gold standard, rather than the technical details of the certification and the first-hand experiences, which will be covered by the later speakers. So before we go into more details of the motivation, I would ask a question to you, and therefore please flip to the next slide. There's a Mentimeter question prepared. Please remember your last travel by train, and what gives you the most enjoyment during the ride when you take a train. Please vote among the 4 alternatives presented, and then we'll discuss. First 2 are making a race among themselves, punctuality and comfort. Quite close. Okay, well, it's really a tough race between punctuality and comfort. Thank you for your votes. And while we look how the race continues, I want to give you a little deeper thoughts about the 4 alternatives offered here. So when you think about punctuality, about the connectivity, about the comfort of the ride, of course, there are a lot of things which we provide as operators, like service, like cleanliness, like maintenance of the vehicles. But the quality of our train service also highly depends on the performance of the supply chain on the performance of our partners in the railway industry. We depend on spare parts. We depend on new vehicles in the vehicle projects. And okay, now punctuality has taken a lead by 4 points, so it may win the race if we don't have a lot more votes. I give you an example for punctuality. If we have delays in a vehicle project, it means that we have to continue our service with older rolling stock. However, the schedule was not designed for this rolling stock. It was designed to the performance values of the new ordered rolling stock. And if we have to operate with alternative older vehicles, it's logically that this leads to delays and leads to deficient punctuality. So we really depend on the on-time delivery of new vehicles to be punctual. And in the comfort systems, which is now a stable second place here, it's a similar situation. We really depend on the spare parts. We depend on the maintenance of all the systems. And I'm speaking of railway industry partners because in my opinion, the term supplier doesn't really fit, as the term supplier would indicate that you build a product, you design a product, you build a product, you hand it over, we pay, and that's the end of the story. But this is not the case. We are operating the trains for 20, 30, maybe 40 years, and in all this time, we have to do service on the trains, we have to do maintenance, we have to operate these vehicles. And we are depending on the know-how, on the engineering know-how, on the production know-how, and on the processes of our industrial partners to do this. And to do this according to the expectation of our customers, to give you the enjoyment and to give you the punctuality, the comfort, and the connectivity, which you voted for in this little poll. So that was the point of really this Mentimeter, the connection between the operators and the railway industry. And I would like to go to the next slide. Please, thank you. So when you ask the question, why going for gold? It is really for our passengers and for those waiting for them. And you see the picture, you can imagine a little story. As a little family may wait for another family member and anticipate the punctual arrival of their mother. And next slide, please. And now, as you know, this punctual arrival, in a sense, hangs on this chain. But in fact, it's not a simple chain of just a few elements like on the picture. When we consider modern trains with their high complexity of technical systems which are interconnected, it's actually more a chain of 1 million elements. And if just one fails, that's enough to ruin your train ride and to be not as comfortable as we wish to transport you. And so to ensure the robust supply chain, we therefore need to focus on the risk in the supply chain, make our quality assurance in a risk-based manner, and look for the weakest link and addressing this link by improvement actions and by mitigating actions. Of course, this activity goes both ways, with our supply chain, with our partners in the industry, but also internally in our own processes. Next slide, please. So I was asked to present the expectations of the operator, but I would rather speak of needs more than expectations. What we really need are robust supply chains. This is a topic you hear almost daily in the news nowadays. But of course, it's also the basis for any stable operation. Then what we also need is to understand the risks we are facing and the risks which our supply chain is facing. We need to understand that, which risks exist, what is their impact, and what is their probability to take effective mitigation action so that the risks do not hit our guests on the trains. And the third point, performing processes. Bernard already mentioned that we are not only looking for a management system which is implemented, but we are also looking for the results which this management system is delivering. And I give you a little negative example. A public administration which is following a strict process but needs 6 months to issue you a new passport is clearly not performing. They have their process and they strictly follow them, but the outcome is not very satisfying when you want to plan your next business or private trip. And another example is your local garage. You know, they may perform perfectly well when you bring your car to them, and as long as the best boss is around, they manage perfectly well and you get your car back and everything is fixed. But if the boss is sick, chaos breaks loose because they have no established processes at all in a systematic manner. And as we are talking here about large operations on all the involved parties, we need these systematically implemented processes on a highly performing level. That's why we implemented that gold standard. And the last point, products on time, on spec, and on cost is almost automatically achieved if you have the first 3 items. And then with this on time, on spec, and on cost products and services, I come back to the Menti slide from before. We are then able to offer you the right you deserve and you expect from the operation. Next slide, please. So if you want to live up to these needs, we invite you to our first class. We invite you to take a seat, get gold certified, and join the industry partners for a long-term relationship. Next slide, please. This is as well as the final slide. I come back to the story from slide 3. You see now the little girl got out of the car and is walking, maybe to greet her mother. Now your management, or you may as well ask, why should I get up? Why should I get going? Why should I strive for gold? And what rewards are there for gold certified companies? Especially now, as we are in a crisis and we face all kinds of threats. Well, first of all, of course, while in crisis mode, we need to care for the immediate business continuity. That's clear. However, you joined this call and you are obviously thinking beyond the immediate crisis and with a longer outlook for your business. And in our opinion, a gold certificate represents this long-term strategic commitment to first-class quality performance and a long-term commitment for this railway industry. Awarded companies stand out by the quality of their products, the robustness of their processes, and excellent customer communication. So companies with these characteristics have always been more resilient in crisis than competitors without these. And that's why you should indeed strive for a gold certificate if it's your strategic imperative to have a long-term commitment to the railway industry market. And with this, I would like to give back the floor to Bernard and my fellow speakers. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Reinhard, for this presentation. Let's now move to an industry view, and in this case from Siemens, and I would give the floor to Louise.
Thank you very much, Bernard. Yes, my name is Louise Nitsche, and I'm responsible for the topic of IRIS certification within Siemens Mobility. And as Bernard already explained, I'm part of several working groups regarding the IRIS certification. So within my presentation today, I would like to introduce two topics to you. First of all, I would like to explain what are the gold rules or what are the gold criteria to achieve this quality performance level. And on the other hand, in my second part of the presentation, I would like to give you a very short overview of our certification status at Siemens. So therefore, we can move to my next slide, where I would like to give you a first introduction to the requirements of the IRIS assessment methodology and the IRIS standard. As you probably already know, the IRIS certification scheme consists of two main elements. First of all, we have the ISO TS 22163, which has two elements. First of all, the ISO 9001, as well as the railway specific supplemental. In the ISO TS, there are all the requirements are listed which you have to fulfill when you want to get IRIS certified. And within the railway specific supplemental, for example, there you have the 22 mandatory processes which you have to implement, which are most of them are very railway specific. For example, the topic of project management, FII, or special processes. Further, IRIS, the standard is requesting mandatory and optional KPIs, which is different or specific mandatory and optional KPIs, which is different regarding to the ISO 9001. On the other hand, you have the IRIS conformity assessment in 2020, where the assessment methodology is described. There we have three pillars of the evaluation. On the first pillar, this is the enabler part, which are the requirements of the standard. And when you want to achieve a special quality performance level, you have to fulfill those requirements. Those requirements include, for example, the 10 KO questions, 142 closed questions, which can be scored with 0 or 2. And what is very important to receive a higher quality performance level are the open questions. There are 164 open questions, which can be scored from 0 to 4. If you fulfill all shell requirements, then you will be scored with 2 points. But if you want to reach a higher maturity, you have to fulfill the should requirements as well, and they are scored with 3 or 4 points. The enabler part reflects the existence and the maturity of your business management system. Further, there is the assessment of the customer perception and the performance evaluation. Those elements reflect the capability and the effectiveness of your business management system. The result of these two pillars have a major impact of a higher quality performance level like silver or gold. Let's have a more detailed look at the customer perception. Within the customer perception, there are three elements taken into account for the evaluation. First of all, it is the stakeholder analysis, the customer feedback, and the third point is the 3 mandatory customer perception KPIs, which are customer satisfaction, on-time delivery, and the non-conformities raised by the customer. Especially the results of the customer perception KPIs are having a very big influence on the customer perception scorings. Organizations have to prove within this evaluation that they are meeting customer expected performance, and that is not always so easy. The third pillar is the performance evaluation of the 5 mandatory key processes: design and development, requirements management, project management, EPPPS, and production and service provision. Within this evaluation, the auditor has to check the process application and the process performance. It has to be proven that the process results are in line with customer expected performance. In the end of the audit, the results of the 3 pillars will lead to a certain quality performance level. The targets of each level I will explain on my next slide. As I explained, the IRIS certification assessment methodology is based on the 3 pillars. For the bronze level, which is the basic level, only all shell requirements must be fulfilled. The assessment of the customer perception and the performance evaluation are not considered. The silver level reflects the transparency of the performance of an organization. A higher maturity in the enabler pillar is necessary to reach at least 70%. For the process evaluation scoring, at least 80% has to be reached. That means that the 5 key processes of an organization have to be mainly in line with customer expected performance. Further, a good customer perception has to be ensured, and at least a score of 75% have to be reached. Therefore, the fulfillment of the customer perception KPIs must be proven. The gold quality performance level stands for trust and an optimized performance in terms of customer perception. Therefore, an even higher scoring in all pillars is necessary. In the enabler part, at least 80%, within the process performance, at least 90%, and for customer perception, at least 85% must be reached. Further, a direct customer feedback is part of the quality assessment. Before the audit, the organization has to obtain direct customer feedback of 4 customers, which are chosen by the auditor and the organization. Each of them can choose 2 main customers for the feedback. And the customers are giving feedback on the on-time delivery of the organization and of their quality performance. At least 80% have to be reached to be eligible for the gold quality performance level. On my next slide, I would like to explain what are the quality gates for the quality performance, for the gold quality performance level, which is a premium award. As I already explained, a clear evidence of optimized customer perception is the basis for the gold quality performance level. To ensure these high requirements on awarding, quality gates have been established by the IRQB. First of all, the audit results have to be in line with the required targets, which I explained on my previous slide. And then there are several compliance checks. Each gold audit is witnessed by an independent calibration auditor. The calibration auditor's task is to ensure the IRIS certification rules as well as the ISO TS are complied with. It is checked that there is, for example, no overscoring by the certification body auditor and that all rules are respected. The calibration auditor can intervene if the rules are not respected. Further, the audit report is checked by IMC after it was uploaded in the IRIS portal. The third element is the Gold Committee. The Gold Committee consists of members of equipment manufacturers, system integrators, and operators. The Gold Committee makes the final decision of a gold quality performance level if it can be awarded, and it is considering the results of the calibration audit, the results of the IMC compliance check, and of course the result of the audit itself. If all rules are respected, the Gold Committee decides that IMC will issue the gold quality performance level. Now I have explained what are the rules and the requirements to receive a gold quality performance level, and on my next slide I have a question to you. So are you aiming for a gold quality performance level? So please go to Menti. Say yes. Okay, so right now, oh, okay. Very interesting. There is one answer that they want to go for gold. There are 2 and 3 which are focusing on silver right now. And there are even 2 answers who were telling us bronze is sufficient. Okay. Okay, I can fully understand that most of you voted that the silver quality performance level is the first target, because when we have a look at for all IRIS certificates, I mean, we have more than 2,000 certificates, and I think above 8% only reach the silver quality performance level. So the first target should be, of course, silver, but now I see the gold is increasing as well. All right, thank you very much. Then we can go to my next slide. Now, I understood what is your target, and I would like to explain our certification status at Siemens. So at Siemens, we have 21 IRIS certified sites, mainly in Europe and Asia, where we produce or service rolling stock and rail infrastructure. Some of our sites are IRIS certified from the very beginning on. Since the IRIS quality performance level have been introduced, we constantly worked on reaching a higher maturity. Our target is to ensure good results across all our certified sites. So therefore, we are actually very proud that 71% of our certified sites reached the silver quality performance level, which you can see in the pie chart on the left side. 90% of our certified sites are awarded with a bronze level, and 10% of them right now are pending. The audit has just been finished and the report is checked by IMC. In the right chart, I would like to give you some more details about our scorings. There you can see the average enabler score of all IRIS certified organizations worldwide, which was in 2021 69%. If you take only the silver quality performance level into account, the average enabler score is increased to 74%. Our average enabler score at Siemens is right now 79%. So we are very proud that all our certified sites improved over the last years very much, and that we have now a wide basis of good performance. So on my next slide, I have another question for you. I would like to know from your point of view, what are the challenges to achieve the gold quality performance level? No challenges for you? Okay, management decision. That means your management has to decide you want to go for gold. That's a strategy. Okay. The performance evaluation. Okay, KPIs, resources. Okay, thank you. Then we can go to my next slide where I would like to present from my point of view what are the challenges. So from my point of view, it can be very demanding to achieve the excellent process performance, which is the basis for gold. Especially right now, it can be very difficult to achieve set targets and customer expected performance. Then it can be a big challenge to keep this excellent process performance, especially in times right now, which are not very stable. And it can be, from my point of view, very challenging to prove that you reached customer expected performance, because sometimes it's just very difficult to get a feedback from the customer to prove that. But I think in general, it is a very great opportunity that we have, that we can make it very visible with our certified sites of our overall performance, and this is visible to our customers and it can be displayed in the IRIS portal. Thank you very much. I would like to hand back to Bernard.
Thank you very much, Louise, for all these precisions. So I told you about 2 gold levels awarded up to now. Now it's time to have the feedback from one of the awarded companies, and Markus will do this. Markus, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Bernard. First of all, a warm welcome to the audience also from my side. As Bernard mentioned, we are very proud that we could obtain our first gold certificate at our plant in China at KB Suzhou. The team did there a great job, and I would like to present to you the way that we performed, the way that we walked, in order to achieve this really good and challenging result. Next slide, please. As you can see, we really worked very hard, and like Louise explained, on the enablers. The minimum, as we learned, is 80%, and we achieved 81%. And it's really, with the assessment sheets that you have to walk through, that you really have to work on with the 45 sub-chapters. It's really, a really deep and thorough journey that you have to go in order to achieve, these 81%. The same is also for the customer perception, where you really have to prove that you are meeting the stakeholder needs. As you know, minimum requirement 90, and we achieved at that time 91%. And looking into the process performance evaluation of the 5 mandatory processes, we achieved 95, minimum requirement 90. Just for you to know, let's look a little bit deeper on the process performance, where you really look into the project management of requirements for products and services, design and development of products and services, control of external provided services, products and services purchasing, control of production and service provision. And as you can see, if you have really these processes under control, like Reinhard mentioned, you can really do a lot for your customers, even in these challenging times. If you have these processes stabilized, I think you can also have a very strong position in these times, like I mentioned. Okay, because we did good there, we received the gold certificate, and we were the first ones to achieve it in 2021, as you can see here from the certificate. Let's jump to the next slide, please. First of all, I would like then to explain this journey a little bit for you to understand, and also to motivate you to go the same way like we did. Louisa explained a little bit about the IRIS history, and for me it's just, here on the timeline for you to see when it was established and published the first time with the revision number 0. It was in 2006. Our plant was established in China, KB Suzhou, at 2005. And then, the next revision came out of IRIS in 2007. And we, got the first IRIS certificate, revision number 1, in 2008. Then there was another evolution of IRIS, revision number 2. And then in 2017, IRIS became the technical standard, like Louisa explained to us. And then, looking a little bit further, in 2019, the bronze certificate was enabled, and you could obtain it in 2020, the silver certificate, and then in 2021, finally, the gold certificate. And then we look back again to our history. Please move to the next slide. We see also our development. As mentioned, we got very stable results. You can see, in 2010, we already were at 82% IRIS result that we maintained until 2011. In 2012, we made another jump to 83%, in 2013 to 84%, and so on, until 2016. And you see, between 2013 and 2016, we had quite a stable process there. Everybody felt quite comfortable, and there was no jump upwards or downwards. It was like a stable system. But then, with the technical standard that came out, we had a very good drop, in performance, in 2017. Just remember the timeline. And also in 2018. This made us rethink, and we came up, the team in Suzhou came up, with a 3-year strategy. And the strategy, we aimed direct for gold. And this means that we always had to improve our quality management system. We had to improve our processes to obtain that. And this is, I think, a good challenge, and it's a good goal for all of you, to look into your processes, to optimize, and really see in relation to your customer if you're doing good or not, because you need good communication, and you need good communication on all levels. But this is something where we'll go a little bit deeper into the next slide. Please, let's move again. Here, during that journey, we learned a lot, and I think this is something, what's important, that in this learning phase, you need also to have a development. And then let's look at these do's. Proactively plan for the gold and define clear roadmaps. We chose 3 years. You have to see if you want to have a shorter time or a longer time. But please do not forget, that everybody in your company has to walk the same way with you. You cannot lose people on this way. And if you are pushing too hard, the risk to lose people on the journey is very high. So And then you have to have a very honest look at your performance, and you have to see if the thing what you are seeing, it's really then also proven in your IRIS certification. And you have always to do a look backwards and a look forward. All right, next point is deeply understand the IRIS standard and the certification requirements, the regulations. I think this is something what you really have to do. And if you understand them, you have to transpire them into your quality management system. And then, as you know, you have to keep improving, verifying, improving again. And then thirdly, focus on the risk management by comprehensively applying the turtle diagrams. What we discovered is really by applying the turtle diagrams, you can have really a good understanding where you are, where you have to improve, are you looking at the right things, and obviously, like I mentioned already, you can see the efficiency of this process, and you see also the control methods and the corrective actions that you need there. And fourth, customer care mechanism. I think this is really key. You have to have layered communication channels built up, strong channels where you communicate on each level. This means the complaint management, the people from project management, the quality managers, also for my level. I think we need all to build up strong relation. We have to understand our customer. We have to hear the voice of the customer. We always have to know, that we are meeting their expectations, or that they also understand where are the limits, where we cannot fulfill certain things, and then come up to an agreement again where we all can live. This is, I think, something what you really have to consider, and I think communication is really key. And then if you look at the don'ts, this is, I think, something what you probably will laugh, but it sometimes, can really ruin your, if you made everything right and then you see that you are missing, the dates and you are late to deliver, your packages to the auditor, or if you are late, by giving the customer feedback, to transpire it then to the IMC. These things, I think, are really key. You have to do good things and you have to communicate these good things. If not, it's not going nowhere. All right, let's move to the next slide. And I would like, to ask you a question now by everything what you heard from Bernard, what you heard from Reinhard, what you heard from Louise and from myself. The question that I have to you is, do you think that the IRIS Gold quality performance level will enable your company to meet the expectations of the end customer? Give you a little bit more time. I think we are seeing already a clear trend, a good trend. So I'm very happy to see what you guys are relaying back to us, and that you're saying it's a good tool to improve the company's performance, and that half of you so far is saying, it's also a good tool to meet the end customer expectation. And I think this is also, just to link it to Reinhard again, the message that he gave to us. So in order for us to join, the first class and feel cozy and very good attended, I think this is something what we really have to take in consideration, and that most of you see it really as so beneficial to improve the performance of your company. Very happy, to see that, because this is then giving a strong message. And I hope, you know, that this whole package that we are showing to you today, it's keeping you motivated, that it's bringing you the good spirit, you know, also to transpire the spirit to your company to do that, because in these challenging times, I think if you have strong processes, good internal performance, you will be able, you know, even in these challenging times, to meet the expectations. All right, then let's move to my last slide. And Louise mentioned it already. It's also a challenge to keep, you know, your position in the Champions League. It's very easy, you know, to be kicked out again, like, you know, from soccer. It's very, very easy. And there are some stuff that can hinder you. This can be exactly the outside world, like we said, you know, to keep and sustain customer perception at such a high level in these challenging times, you know, it's really, really difficult. And we all know how the supply base is looking like, and to meet the dates, it's really a tough one. So I think this is something what really woke us up now, what is happening in the world, and seeing this challenge. And if you look back to China, the COVID control policy, if we do not have, you know, a certain relief there, and if the auditors can not go there in person, then we are also, you know, losing the certificate, because it's mandatory right now. It's a requirement to have an on-site audit for the gold level. So as you can see, there are a couple of challenges out there. So sometimes it's not, you know, up to us or up to you if you are being kicked out of the Champions League again, but you should have the training, you know, and the infrastructure to always return very quickly into the Champions League as soon as the market goes up or as soon as the situation gets better again. So thank you so much to you, and I hope that I could give you, you know, this picture from our side. Thank you so much, and I give the word back to Bernard.
Okay, thank you very much, Markus. Very good hints and the way to go there, and I hope that this will also help the companies to reach this level of performance. We are almost finished. I just have a very few questions to the speakers. First, a question to Louise. Do your customers make a difference in terms of audits or qualification depending on the level of the certified sites?
That would be really great, but till now, no, there is no difference than before. But it's a great idea.
Okay, very clear answer. A short question to Reinhard as well. Reinhard, you were in the board when we discussed in 2017 the rules and so on, and I know we had really tough discussions about the levels and so on. When you see the results today, do you think that still the levels we expect are adequate? And we shall really continue like that to ask the companies to perform and to reach this level, or do you think maybe we shall address some further discussion on it?
Thank you for the question. I believe that it's absolutely adequate, and the scheme is exactly doing what we wanted it to do. And I was very happy to see the result of the question which Markus posted here. Because of course it is demanding what we are asking for. I'm very aware that this is a very complex and extended scheme. But then when you remember the slide with the chain and the weak link, the vehicles And the railway system is also extremely complex. And to have reliability there, which is fitting the needs of our guests on the train, which may also be you, as you posted in the poll, that you want to be punctual, that you want to be comfortable during your ride. We need this high level of performance, of systematically implemented processes, and of customer communication. And we cannot have it in an easier way, unfortunately.
Okay, thank you, Reinhard. Last question to Markus as well. Markus, you have already this success of the first gold performance level in one of the sites of Knorr-Bremse. Do you plan to extend this level in other sites? Is it largely planned, or really you want to focus only on some very key parts where you want to really push the quality? Markus,
Yeah.
you are muted. Yeah.
I just noticed it. I just want to say there are two hearts that are beating, in my chest. First of all, I would say the goal is always to achieve gold in all sites. But as we know, this is really the Champions League, like we mentioned, and to have, in these many sites that we have, everybody, with these infrastructure, with all these needs, it's quite tough and challenging in these times. So right now, it's exactly what was transpired also in this graph. We are continuing to build on gold. We will do our best, to achieve it in other sites. But for me, the main thing is to have a very good and stable silver level, because like Louise mentioned, this is exactly, where you can prove that you are a good and successful company, and that you understand, that in certain locations you can go the extra mile, is then proving, that you are really positioned for that market. So for me, main thing, silver everywhere, strong silver, and then, have the Champions League, just as the top of the crown.
Okay, very clear statement from your side, Markus. Thank you very much. So we are at the end of our webinar today. Just last few information. The first is that if you might have the need of more information, I would like to ask you to visit the InnoTrans fair and to come to our stand at the Unifair stand, Hub 27, stand 660, sorry. And because on Wednesday afternoon we will have a debate as well on performance, then globally, and we will also present the second gold awarded company, and that's then the possibility also to discuss with the team there and to have more exchange on that. Then I would also like to invite you to the next sessions, which will be upcoming in the next month. And finally, I would thank also our colleague behind the scene. You never see Arthur Tena, who is making all these webinars possible with the technique. And thank you very much, Arthur, for all this great job. So I wish all of you a very nice afternoon or evening or morning, depending where you are located, and hope to see you soon. Stay healthy and nice weekend to all. Bye-bye.